Well, it's been a while. It is now February 2021. I think it's been probably a good year since I've made, since I made a YouTube video. Problem is, I kind of lose focus when I'm making videos, so I'll start getting into the photography side and forget the video side. So I'm gonna try and get back into it, back into making videos, try for a weekly basis. This year I may actually kind of focus on more infrared. There's not many videos about infrared photography. However, today I'll have my infrared camera with me. I actually came to Mashell Falls down near Eatonville. I don't know what it's going to be like. There's not much for foliage on the trees or anything, and then now the sun's starting to come out. But hopefully I can make it down to the falls before the sun comes up over the trees and blasts the sunlight onto the falls and destroys all the detail. But anyway, that's where I'm heading. I do have my infrared camera with me, along with my normal camera. And then I ran out of room, so I had to put my tilt shift lens in my pocket, because between infrared camera, regular camera, 3 lenses in my backpack, that kind of took up all the room. So now I am trying to find the trail. The forest is actually, the gate's closed in the pack forest, so I came up to the other side, parked along the road, walked across the train bridge, which is no longer used, so it's okay. Now I'm trying to find the rock with the sign on it, points to the falls. And then hopefully I can get some good photos. I'm really trying to focus on the panorama, which is probably the reason I brought my tilt shift, because you can focus and then shift the lens all the way over, take photo, shift it to the center, take photo, shift it to the other side, take photo, and then they blend very easy into a panorama. So, I think I found the trail. I'm gonna walk down there to the falls and see what I can find. Well, I don't know how well you can hear me because the water's raging. I've never seen it this big. As you can see, now the lens is getting all spotted. That's all right. So, I'm gonna get all set up here. See, I just threw on my tilt shift lens. So I'll get set up and then I'll show you what I've got going on. I got the polarizer on to block out any scattered light and all the reflections. So hopefully the sun's still behind the trees, so I should be able to get a couple shots before it comes over. So another thing that's cool about the tilt shift lens is that not only does it go side to side, but you can rotate it and now it'll shift up and down. As you can see, goes down, goes up. And unfortunately, I just lost my little thing for right there. Then let's rotate it back here. Then you can see it also goes this way. So it actually has some pretty cool effects. So if you're, like for this waterfall, if I wanted to shoot directly in and have the rest of the image blurred out, I can have it centered and then tilt it to the left and to the right, and everything to the left and right of the image will be blurred out and just the center line is in focus. So it's a pretty cool lens, what it does. And the advantage for me is it's a prime lens, so I don't have any hot spots in infrared photography. So I'm gonna grab my infrared camera and just see what I can do with it. So it's actually working out better than I thought. I gotta step down here without falling into the river. So I use my Hypercolor infrared, and then I use the Hypercolor, which the Hypercolor turns everything, like all the foliage, purple, and then like a blue sky would be kind of a greenish blue. The Hypercolor, you really have to use Photoshop and swap the channel mixer, the red and the blue channels, and you can also swap the green and the blue channels, which gives you a really cool effect. So right now I have my super blue, I think is what it's called, So all the foliage turns yellow and all the water turns blue. So with the Hypercolor and the Super Blue, you really don't need to do a whole lot of Photoshop. You don't need to swap the channels. They kind of are how they are. So you can see here, hopefully you can see that. Let me brighten it up a little bit. So you can see foliage yellow, oops, water's all blue. So it really gives a cool effect. And with the tilt shift, you know, I started over here, and then center shot, and then right shot. I'll put all those back together in Photoshop. So I think I'm almost done. Maybe I'll go check out the middle falls and the upper falls. These are the lower falls. I think it's the middle falls. I think you can actually go behind them. There'd be way too much water right now. Just the spray, you can't even get a shot because it instantly covers your lens. But it is a cool shot. I got one last year. Unfortunately, after I printed it, I saw all the water spots, so I got to work on that again for this year. So I'm gonna head back up the trail, hopefully not fall in the river on the way up, and then just go check out the middle fall, see if I can catch anything there. So the one thing about shooting infrared is that you really need to set your white balance pretty much all the time. So for my Hypercolor, my Supercolor, my Super Blue, I use a gray card, set the white balance for that, and it all depends on what the light's doing. So every time, like if I'm shooting and then the sun goes behind the cloud, I take another white balance shot really fast. You know, unfortunately it doesn't take long. And then my Sony, I have the A7R as my infrared. It stores 3 custom white balances, so I can do that. Once you start reaching like your 665, or like I just use the red 25A filter, which is actually a black and white filter. It darkens blues, but it works similar to the 665 enhanced infrared filter. You can use a gray card on that, but I'll usually use this green foliage, and then 720 nanometer, like the Hoya R72, that you want to use green foliage, and then your deep black and white filter, like I have the 830 nanometer, then the green foliage as well. Otherwise, it just doesn't turn out. And then you want to set up a custom profile in Photoshop or Lightroom to get the editing properly, which doesn't really take all that long. One thing I've discovered is that the 830 nanometer deep black and white does not work on waterfalls, because basically all your foliage turns bright white. Then with the white water, the white foliage, it all just blends together and really just doesn't look good. So I avoided that one today. Like I said, I use the Hypercolor, the Supercolor, and then the Super Blue. So I think those are going to turn out. They look pretty good on the back of the screen. So we'll see what we get when I get back to the computer. And then, so I think for now, I'm going to head up to check out the middle falls. So I got to the middle falls, and there wasn't much going on there. And like I said, the best view for me is from behind the falls, and the water's just too fast right now. So now I'm just heading back to my car. I'm hungry. I need some lunch. Thank God I have a sandwich in my car. So what I'll do now is I'll get some of those infrared images on the computer, and I'll show you how I do some editing. I won't go through a full edit, but show you how I have to switch the channels and then the difference between the Hypercolor and the Super Blue, and how there's really not much editing with those ones. Oh, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button, then the little bell, and then if you can like the video, it all helps with the YouTube algorithm, or however they do all that stuff. I don't know. It's beyond me. I work in oceanography. What do I know? So I'm just hoping I don't slip in the mud. I have to cross the train bridge, back to my car. I may stop somewhere else, do some photography. I saw kind of this cool building over in, where, I don't know, Puyallup or something like that. So I may stop there. But if I don't, once I get everything up on the computer, I'll run through a quick edit and show you how the infrared stuff goes. So now that I'm back in the office, as you can see, bit of a mess. Got partner's bike back there up on the trainer. Got all her work stuff over here. But I want to talk to you a little bit about my infrared setup. So right now I've got, this is the Sony A7R. Life Pixels had it. It was used. And I just had them make it into a full spectrum camera. And full spectrum, basically, that's the sensor there. They remove all filters and everything off the sensor, and it's just an open sensor, which means without any filters, you're going to get UV light, you're going to get infrared light, you're going to get basically everything into your camera. So what I've got, what I shot with at the waterfalls, so this yellow one, that's the Hypercolor. So this one makes all the foliage purple, makes the sky like a greenish blue. However, what I've learned is this one really needs the bright sunlight. The waterfall shots were just kind of bland and boring. It's very unsaturated purple color for the foliage, so they just don't look that good. And then the other filter I used was this one here. You can see it's a blue color. This is let me move it over here in front of you can see that. This is the super blue. This one doesn't have any sort of nanometer reading on it, so I don't know. But this one makes your sky super blue and makes your foliage bright yellow. This one doesn't works too bad in the like cloudy skies. The foliage still turns pretty yellow, so it works pretty good. This one, this is the super color, and I think, trying to remember with light pixels, it's right around like 550 to 590 nanometer. This one is very colorful, and so like everything is super bright, super vivid, lots of color involved in this one. You do need to like use Photoshop with this one to swap your channels unless you have the LUTs set up in Lightroom. So I've been using this one quite a bit. I've been having lots of fun with it. From there, another light pixel filter is this one here. It's basically black. It's 830 nanometer deep black and white. You only get black and white images with this one. That's all you can get. So places like the Palouse in Eastern Washington look really cool with that. So that's a fun one to play with. Then after that, this one here, it's actually the Red 25A, which is a black and white filter. So if you're shooting in black and white film, this darkens your blues, and it does a couple other things, but it also works as a good like enhanced infrared filter, which is right around the 665 nanometer range. So I use that one a lot. That's what my old camera was converted to, was this one. Lots of fun with that. And then this is the standard one that most people get. This is the Hoya R72. It's 720 nanometer filter. Not very much color with this. So if you look at these the three red filters, you have the super color, the enhanced, and then the 720. If you shoot them all at the same scene, like I said, you lose more color between this one and this one, the R25A or the 665 enhanced color, and then you lose more color between this one and your 720 nanometer one. So it depends on what you're looking for. This one gives really good blue sky white foliage. This one does as well. This one does a little bit better, but this one has more color. But this one has the most color. So if you really want colorful infrared, this is the better way to go. The advantage, so if you just have a camera converted to this, you can also buy these other filters like this 665 or the 720 and thread them onto your lens, and then it becomes whatever one you put on there because they're a greater nanometer than this one. So it works pretty well that way. So I think that's about it. The lens I was shooting with is my tilt shift, which is actually just kind of a cool lens. You know, they shift back and forth right in the middle of them. You know, and then let me unlock this. So once you can get it back in the middle, then they also tip, as you can see. It's just a lot of fun. They're mostly designed for architectural photography because you can center your camera, you know, get it all perfectly level. And then if this is, you can actually rotate the whole thing around. And then if you're chopping off part of the building or whatever it is, you can actually just shift it up like that to catch the top of the building, or shift it down. And that's how I was doing my panoramas as well. You can see if I rotate it back, then it's, you know, I had it basically on the tripod, and I'd start off to one side, shift it to the center, and then shift it to the other side and take my 3-shot panorama. So that's my infrared setup. Works really well. All my filters are 82 millimeter because that's the largest threaded lens I have, which it's actually 3 of my lenses, my 24-70, my tilt shift, and my 16-35 are all 82 mil, so they work really well. My 100-400 is a 77, so I have a little adapter ring to adapt all these to. Otherwise, that's it for the infrared stuff. I think next video what I'll do is I'll take photos of all the same thing and then use each different filter, and then I can show you how each one looks. I'll do the same editing to each photo, and then you can see the difference in the colors and what all works out. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And here are a few of the images I shot at the waterfalls.